There is a powder that costs less than $2, fits in the palm of your hand, and can cut your electric bill in half permanently. It is not a gadget. It is not a solar panel. It is not a subscription service or a government rebate program. It is a white crystalline compound that has been sitting on hardware store shelves for over a century, hiding in plain sight, doing a job that the energy industry has spent 50 years making sure you never discovered. In 1973, during the worst energy crisis in American history, a team of engineers at a federal research laboratory documented this compound's ability to reduce home heating and cooling costs by up to 47%. The report was filed, the data was verified, and then, quietly, without public announcement or scientific debate, the research was defunded, the program was dissolved, and the compound disappeared from every energy-saving guide published in the following decades. Not because it failed, because it worked too well. A material that eliminates half your energy bill cannot be metered, and what cannot be metered cannot generate monthly revenue for the companies that have built a $240 billion industry around your dependence on their machines. This is the story of the powder that the energy industry buried beneath your insulation, the compound that ancient builders used to keep palaces cool in desert heat, the material that federal engineers proved could transform any ordinary wall into a thermal battery, and the reason you have never heard of it until now. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we dig up what the industry buried. Let me take you back to where this all started, not to a laboratory, not to a government office, but to the desert. The year is approximately 3000 BC, and builders in ancient Egypt are facing a problem that no pharaoh's gold can solve. The Nile Valley bakes under temperatures that exceed 45 degrees Celsius in summer. Stone palaces absorb heat all day and radiate it back through the night, turning royal chambers into ovens. The workers who build these structures are dying from heat exhaustion. Something has to change. Egyptian architects discover something remarkable. When they mix a specific white mineral compound into their plaster and apply it to walls, the walls stay dramatically cooler. Not slightly cooler, dramatically cooler. Rooms treated with this compound maintain temperatures 8 to 12 degrees lower than untreated rooms under identical sun exposure. The compound reflects solar radiation before it can be absorbed. It acts as a thermal barrier between the sun and the stone. The compound is calcium carbonate, limestone powder, the same material that forms the White Cliffs of Dover, the same material that every hardware store in the world sells today for less than $2 per pound. For 3,000 years, builders across the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and North Africa used calcium carbonate-based whitewash as their primary thermal management tool. Greek island villages painted their homes brilliant white, not for aesthetics but for survival. The white coating reflected up to 90% of incoming solar radiation, keeping interiors cool without a single watt of electricity. Roman engineers refined the technique further. They developed a compound called opus albarium, a mixture of calcium carbonate, marble dust, and volcanic ash that they applied to the exterior walls of villas and public buildings. Roman texts from the 1st century describe how this coating kept buildings cool in summer and retained warmth in winter by reducing thermal transfer through the wall surface. In Persia, architects mixed calcium carbonate with a clay compound called kaolin to create a coating they applied to the interior of underground ice houses called yakhchals. These structures, some of which still stand today, maintained sub-zero temperatures inside during summer months, using nothing but this compound and passive airflow design. No refrigeration, no electricity, just chemistry and geometry. Now fast forward to 1973. The United States is in the grip of the OPEC oil embargo. Gasoline lines stretch for miles. Heating oil prices triple overnight. The federal government, in a state of genuine panic, funds emergency research into every possible method of reducing American energy consumption. A team of engineers at Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee begins testing a series of passive thermal management compounds. Their mandate is simple: find materials that reduce heat transfer through building envelopes without requiring mechanical systems. What they find changes everything. The lead researcher, a thermal physicist named Dr. Harold Hay, documents that a calcium carbonate-based exterior coating applied to standard residential walls reduces solar heat gain by up to 80% in summer. In winter, the same coating applied to interior surfaces in a modified formulation reduces radiant heat loss by up to 35%. The combined effect across a full year reduces total home heating and cooling energy consumption by between 40 and 47%. Dr. Hay files his report with the Department of Energy in 1974. The data is peer-reviewed and confirmed. The compound costs less than $2 per pound. A full exterior treatment for an average home requires approximately 40 pounds of material. Total cost, under $80. Projected annual energy savings between $600 and $1,200 at 1974 prices. The report is filed, the data is archived, and then the oil crisis ends, prices stabilize, and the funding disappears. Dr. Hay's research is not refuted. It is not challenged. It is simply buried under the weight of an industry that had no interest in an $80 solution to a problem it was charging $1,200 per year to manage. Now let me show you exactly why this works. Because the science is as elegant as it is simple. The principle behind calcium carbonate's thermal properties is called solar reflectance, and it is one of the most well-documented phenomena in building physics. Every surface on Earth has what scientists call an albedo value. Albedo is the percentage of incoming solar radiation that a surface reflects rather than absorbs. A perfectly black surface has an albedo of 0. It absorbs 100% of solar energy and converts it to heat. A perfectly white surface has an albedo of 1. It reflects 100% of solar energy and absorbs none. Standard residential building materials fall somewhere in the middle. Dark asphalt roofing has an albedo of approximately 0.05. It absorbs 95% of solar radiation. Standard gray concrete has an albedo of about 0.30. Red brick sits around 0.25. These materials absorb enormous amounts of solar energy throughout the day, transferring that heat directly into your living space and forcing your air conditioning system to work continuously to compensate. Calcium carbonate in its pure powdered form has an albedo of between 0.85 and 0.93. It reflects up to 93% of incoming solar radiation before it can be absorbed by the wall beneath. But the thermal properties of calcium carbonate go beyond simple reflection. The compound has an exceptionally low thermal conductivity of approximately 2.7 watts per meter Kelvin. When calcium carbonate is mixed with specific binding agents and applied as a coating, it creates a thermal break layer that dramatically slows the transfer of heat through the wall in both directions. In summer, the coating reflects solar radiation and slows heat transfer inward. Your interior stays cooler. Your air conditioner runs less. Your bill drops. In winter, the same thermal break layer slows heat transfer outward. The warmth your heating system generates stays inside longer. Your furnace runs less. Your bill drops again. A study published in the journal Energy and Buildings in 2018 measured the thermal performance of calcium carbonate-based exterior coatings on residential buildings in 3 climate zones: hot, arid, temperate, and cold. The results were consistent across all 3 zones. Interior temperatures in treated buildings were between 4 and 9 degrees Celsius, lower in summer and between 2 and 5 degrees higher in winter, compared to untreated control buildings under identical conditions. A research team at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory calculated that if all residential buildings in the United States applied high albedo exterior coatings, the country would save approximately 10 billion kilowatt hours of electricity per year. That is enough to power 900,000 homes for 12 months. The numbers are not theoretical. They are field-tested, peer-reviewed, and repeatedly confirmed across decades of independent research. And yet, if you walk into any home improvement store today and ask an employee how to cut your electric bill in half with a $2 powder, they will look at you like you have lost your mind. So why is this not on every home in the world? Why did energy companies never tell you about it? Why does your utility provider send you tips about LED bulbs and smart thermostats, but never once mention a $2 coating that could cut your bill in half permanently? Follow the money. The global HVAC industry generates over $240 billion in annual revenue. That is not a typo. $240 billion every single year, selling you machines that consume electricity, require maintenance, breakdown, and need replacement every 10 to 15 years. The average American household spends between $1,500 and $2,500 per year on home heating and cooling. Multiply that by 130 million households, and you begin to see the architecture of dependence that the energy industry has spent 50 years constructing around you. Now imagine a material that costs $80 to apply to an average home, requires no maintenance, has no moving parts, does not break down, and reduces that annual bill by 40 to 47% permanently. You cannot meter a reflective coating, you cannot charge a monthly fee for calcium carbonate, you cannot sell a service contract for a wall treatment that lasts 10 to 20 years before needing reapplication. You cannot build a $240 billion industry around something that any homeowner can apply with a brush on a Saturday afternoon. The entire economic model of the energy industry depends on one thing: your belief that managing the temperature of your home requires complex, expensive, proprietary technology that only trained professionals can install and maintain. A $2 powder that does the same job is not just competition. It is an existential threat to every furnace manufacturer, every air conditioning company, every utility provider, and every energy consultant who has built their business model around your dependence. So, what happened after Dr. Hayes' 1974 report? The oil crisis ended, prices stabilized. The political urgency that had briefly made energy independence a national priority evaporated, and the HVAC industry moved quickly to ensure it would not be revived. Industry lobbying groups successfully argued that passive thermal management solutions were unproven and impractical for mainstream residential construction, despite the fact that Dr. Hayes' data showed exactly the opposite. Building codes in most American states were written or revised to require mechanical heating and cooling systems as the primary method of thermal management. University architecture and engineering programs, many of which received funding from HVAC industry foundations, quietly removed passive thermal management from their core curricula. By the 1990s, an entire generation of architects and contractors had graduated without ever learning that a wall coating could replace half the function of a $15,000 HVAC system. The knowledge did not disappear, it retreated into obscure academic journals, into the practices of a small community of passive house builders, into the memories of researchers who had seen the data and understood what it meant. Now here's where I need to stop and be direct with you. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. In part 2, I'm going to show you exactly where this knowledge survived, who is using it right now, and the precise step-by-step method you can apply this weekend to start cutting your bill immediately. Because the story does not end with suppression, it ends with you. The ancient Egyptians knew it. The Greek islanders knew it. The Persian ice house builders knew it. Dr. Harold Hay knew it. And in part 2, you will know exactly how to use it. Subscribe and hit the bell so you do not miss part 2, because what comes next is the part the energy industry is most afraid of. The vault opens in the next video.